RPG Maker has always been an amazing and sometimes underappreciated tool. It gives people with limited programming skills the ability to create complex storylines. And I think everyone has at some point dabbled in RPG Maker. We've seen incredible games made in RPG Maker. Yume Nikki, Ib, The Crooked Man, Ao Oni, Corpse Party, just to name a few masterpieces. Of course, if you do know how to program, you can create even more incredible custom stuff with it, but that could be an entire video by itself. There have been lots of iterations of RPG Maker, ranging all the way back to December 1992. But one game series doesn't get mentioned, like ever among the all-time greats when talking about RPG Maker games. And it makes sense. It's an obscure German series from the early 2000s. Hell, it's even obscure among Germans. At least nowadays. This is a little series called Vampire's Dawn. Honestly, it's been easily more than a decade and then some since I last touched Vampire's Dawn. I remember my dad downloading the first and second game for me so I had something to play on his work laptop. Vampire's Dawn is truly an anomaly. A freeware RPG Maker game that came out in 2001, made entirely in German by one guy for a niche audience. I guess you could call it a GRPG. When it came out, it was praised and even promoted in some game magazines, which for an indie title was a fairly rare thing, and for an RPG Maker indie title, an even rarer thing.
Sich mal vorgestellt. Jetzt gibt es ein Spiel dazu, was viele Leute aus der Fangemeinde wirklich erwartet haben, nämlich Vampire's Dawn. Ja, ein junger Mann, der sehr viel Zeit hat. Und hier sehen wir auch schon unseren Hauptheld, nämlich Valnar.
And then 4 years later, Alexander Koch, or Marlex as he's called online, followed up with this new game, Vampire's Dawn 2: Ancient Blood. Now made in RPG Maker 2003. Marlex made use of his experience and the new features to create a new epic in the series, and it managed to stay freeware, but I think there were some talks to make it a commercial game. From what I hear online, there was some criticism, but in online forums, Vampire's Dawn was slowly conquering the hearts of German gamers that were into that niche RPG Maker stuff. In 2007, a spin-off game appeared for mobile devices that even won the German Developer Award for Best Mobile RPG. People couldn't wait for Vampire's Dawn 3. And then? Nothing. Years went by and it slowly became quiet around the series, and people forgot. In 2012, the games created up until now finally got an English translation. I haven't tried those yet, but the thing with translations is that sometimes a lot of the charm can be lost, so I'm not taking any chances. I'm going with the original German version. The first two games even got a novel adaptation in the mid-2010s, but honestly, this series is such a specific niche and was almost forgotten in the mid-2010s, so I can't imagine that they sold a lot of copies. And then, in May 2021, Vampire's Dawn 3: The Crimson Realm quietly released out of nowhere as a commercial game this time, and to my knowledge, no English translation exists as of the making of this video. And there really aren't a lot of reviews. So this game is still very much a hidden gem, even in the German community. Well, that's enough history for now. I guess it's time to see if the first game, Vampire's Dawn: Reigns of Blood, still holds up or nostalgia is blinding me. Also, spoiler alert, I guess. In the beginning of the game, we see this little kid that gets a good night story told to him by his grandfather. You know, these games are like 20 to 30 hours long. By the time the story's over, it'll have been a whole day again. But hey, I'm not one to judge. If I could have somebody tell me a cool story while I stay in bed all day, I'd totally do it too. It lets us pick a text box style here. That's quite a cool feature, but I don't really care. I'll just leave it at default. Walking speed? Oh, hell no. I've played enough old school RPGs to know that picking normal will make this painfully slow. Yeah, fast. Please. So, if you couldn't tell from the title and the atmosphere and the talk about vampires, this is a game about vampires. And yeah, Marlex made all these games totally by himself, although I'm sure you'll be able to recognize some assets at some point. So the old man starts explaining the strength of different vampire generations. It's actually pretty simple. Whenever a vampire turns a human into another vampire, it adds 1 to the generation. And obviously, the higher the generation, the weaker they get. Like, vampires of the 2nd generation are immune to sunlight, while vampires of the 3rd generation might not be. Yeah, I'm on board with this. Makes sense that the blood would get thinner through the generations.
Thin blood. Sounds familiar. Is that one of those tropical diseases?
The story starts and we play this dude here called Valnar. Yeah, get used to these fantasy names. Who lives with his wife in this small town. Man, for a 2001 RPG Maker game, this doesn't look half bad. You can even see some lightning strikes through the window. For the time, this game's actually quite pretty, and it has tons of variety. But more on that later. The little face previews are... I mean, some of them look like they were done with some sort of online RPG Maker face generator and edited with paint or something. Others look like they were actually hand-drawn by somebody. And I think he sometimes even used the default RPG Maker faces. So it's all very inconsistent and none of them match the little portraits that he shows now and then. But I'm pretty sure they get a lot better in the second game. So his wife gets abducted by this guy Abraxas and killed on the mountaintop of the town. He tells us that his wife Aisha was in fact a vampire and throws Valnar aside like he's a football or something. After this, we meet the second protagonist of the story, Asgar. And to make it short, Asgar is a badass vampire. He has no remorse at all and will kill humans without a second thought, even if just for fun. But he has fallen in love with a human woman in an insane asylum named Elaine. So it's up to us to free her crazy ass. What? Wait. Is this right here waiting? It is! I hope I won't get a copyright strike for this. On the bright side, maybe YouTube won't put ads on this video then. Well, anyway, I guess now is as good of a time as any to talk about the music. I don't think I'm making a big assumption here when I'm saying that Marlex might not have been a musician. I mean, I don't know, but I recognize a lot of these MIDI tracks. Sometimes it's actually really funny when you recognize a song and it makes you go, what is this song doing here? And suddenly you associate that spot in the game with a completely unrelated thing. Like, hey, I recognize this song from Where the Hell is Matt 2006. And now that's all I can think about in this place. So, back to the game. In order to free Elaine, Asgar talks to the mayor of the town Shannara in order to convince him to free her, but the mayor refuses letting her go, claiming she's sick and can't be let loose among the general public. So, Asgar gets angry. And you don't make Asgar angry. But for now, it's time to sleep in this gigantic fucking castle. Holy shit, this place is hard to navigate. Marlex kinda tried making this easier by having Asgard tell this cute little Minotaur guy where to go. But Jesus Christ, if I ever have to find a specific spot in the castle, it'll take an eternity. Ugh, I forgot the password. And there we go. The next day, Asgard goes to Shannara to try again, I guess? And interrupts a fucking massacre of the asylum inmates. Christ, this game is brutal. He just beheaded that dude. Asgard doesn't take it very well. After massacring the entire village, he decides that he needs to resurrect her with an ancient spell that requires the blood of a human that has fallen in love with and has slept with a vampire. Oh. So he takes Valnar's blood and resurrects her. Okay, maybe some of the sound files are a bit outdated. Then we get this long-ass pain sequence of Valnar turning into a vampire. Why exactly Asgard turns Valnar into a vampire, I'm not really sure of, but the spell works and Elaine comes back to life as a first-generation vampire. You even get some dialogue choices every now and then, and that influences the ending. Those seem to either be I reject vampirism, I'm gonna be a good boy vampire, you're not my dada, like a little kid, or agree with Asgard and be more of an evil vampire. I say fuck it, I like Asgard, let's be a real vampire, and not one of those angsty teenage vampires. So Elaine and Asgard join the party and now we have 3 members. Asgard sort of adopts Valnar, so to say, and teaches him how to be a vampire and gifts him these amazing sunglasses. He also teaches him the most important skill: how to navigate his fucking castle. This is where we learn most of the game mechanics, and it's honestly astonishing how complex it is. On the surface, it's only classic turn-based combat with spells and blood that acts kinda like mana. But there are also status effects. Different elements, and stats like strength, intelligence, dexterity, and defense. How do you increase those stats? Well, you level up, of course. You can also use souls that you get from killed enemies. There are 3 types of souls: weak ones, normal ones, and strong ones. The better the souls, the less you will need of them. You can also convert these souls into soul gems to use them to summon companions, like skeletons that act as a 4th party member for a limited amount of time. You can also convert them to the next best soul and use the soul gems to play this weird slot machine game. Ah shit, this stuff is feeding my addiction again. Whenever you level up your magic level, which you get 1 level for every 5 normal levels, you can pick 1 of 2 or sometimes 3 spells for each vampire. You can also find some spells by just playing the game and exploring. But that's still not all. There are also some managing aspects here where you can put in soul gems into getting more workers for your silver mines. You can convince some people to move into Shannara, which is empty after the Asgard incident, to build your own little community. There are tons of side quests, secrets, Easter eggs, and even mini-games, all on top of a huge open world. Jeez, I hope I didn't forget anything. This game is honestly massive. I didn't expect this. Even the in-game menu cannot display all the information you need, which is why there's this extra menu as an item that provides information on anything the default RPG Maker menu can't display. I think this is actually a pretty cool way to get around the limited features of the old RPG Maker versions. Every town has a distinct feeling to it. We have desert towns, snow towns, forest towns, hilly towns, rich towns, poor towns, and not only do they all look different and have different music. Is this Silent Hill music? Silent Hill music in a snowy town. No, they also have different cultures. Some people might welcome strangers, others hate them. Some towns will even be sexist. This world feels pretty alive for such an old one-man freeware game. At this point, I kind of have a confession to make. I've been playing this game as its original 32-bit version, which is very, very small. There is a 64-bit version that runs using EasyRPG Player in full screen, but I couldn't get it to work. That kinda sucks, not gonna lie. Well, I guess I'm stuck zooming into the stamp over there. Although it does take away a little bit of the atmosphere, which is really a shame. I mean, look at this. Marlex even went as far as to fake some god rays during the day. And yeah, you heard me right. I said during the day. This game has a dynamic day and night cycle and weather system, both of which are relevant to the gameplay. Like these ghosts that give you their power when you find them, that only show up during the night in certain spots. And of course, this is a vampire game, so you can also suck blood of humans to restore your blood meter. But you gotta be careful. If you suck too often, you'll kill the human. You can also turn the human into a useful item. These are two things you can only do at night. There are even a lot of animals in this game. I mean, they don't do anything, but it adds to the atmosphere. This game is massive and was ahead of many AAA RPGs at the time. Anyways, we go to a nearby city to learn how to suck humans dry. Asgar's being a dick again and randomly kills the mayor. And then he flies away and leaves Valnar behind. We fight our way back home and laugh it off like the end of some shitty sitcom.
Hey.
Valnar.
Jesus, man.
After this, we learn about the Holy Crusade in which almost all vampires were killed, led by a pastor named Vincent Waynard. And this dude is a really interesting character, actually. He used what he knew about vampires to gain power. These kind of things in supernatural media make me think, though. Like, yeah, if vampires were real, and killed people, and humans found out about this, I can totally see us as a civilization declaring war on them. But if we accept the fact that vampires are real and kill people to feed, then what other beings could be real that kill people that the vampires keep in check? By committing genocide on the vampire race, we might accidentally wipe out some other, even more powerful being's natural enemy, who won't negotiate like vampires might be able to. And on top of that, if we don't manage to eradicate all vampires completely, the rest of them will hold a well-deserved grudge against us. So we might have two or even more powerful races against us. So by killing all the vampires, instead of maybe coming to a peaceful agreement with them, we could accidentally cause the end of the human race. Then again, maybe I'm just thinking too much about that. Nemesis? Is that you? The next day, Valnar asks Elaine if she'll help him look for Aisha's body because he wants Asgard to resurrect her the same way he resurrected Elaine. Elaine agrees and they go off by themselves.
What could possibly go wrong?
And they get caught by Abraxas. This is the dude that killed Aisha, if you recall. Well, time to get out of here. Oh, a random encounter. Well, this can't be too hard. I mean, it's the first real fighting area of the game. Well, I guess I kinda messed up there. Let's try again. Stop! This place is like a fucking Zubat cave. You know, I'm usually not really a fan of turn-based combat in video games. I mean, I'll play it, but if a game has turn-based combat, I hope that it has something else going for it. Like an interesting world, for example, like Shadowrun, or the rest of the game's great, like XCOM. Or it's chill, like Pokemon. It's just kind of weird to me that people or beings that want to kill each other just patiently wait until they get hit. Like, ouch, that hurt, but now it's my turn to shoot you. Okay, go ahead, now it's your turn to try to kill me. It's like looking at one of those slapping tournaments. I'd rather have them try to actually kill each other. Turn-based combat always takes me out of the immersion a little bit. Anyway, how much HP do I have left? Wait. Is the HP generation time-based? Not step-based? Yeah, it is. I can exploit this and make this a lot easier. It's gonna take more time this way, but what choice do I have? It's either wait here or die in the next encounter. I mean, it's obviously not a bug, as the decision to make the regen time-based must be intentional, but whatever, I'm gonna abuse the hell out of this. We pick up some goodies here and there, and then meet Abraxas again. I mean, I say we meet him again, but we're actually just hiding from him. And yeah, I don't want to fight this dude again. Last time we fought him, let's say, didn't exactly go well for us. But we do learn that Abraxas has a boss who pays him for killing vampires, despite the fact that both of them are vampires too. That's a little weird, isn't it? Ascar is obviously furious at Abraxas for attacking Valnar and Elaine. Well, at least for attacking Elaine. What I find a bit strange is that they go out of their way to say that Gen 1 vampires are the strongest, but Elaine doesn't strike me as very strong in combat. In fact, Valnar, a 3rd generation vampire, seems to be stronger than her. I feel like that could have been executed a little bit better. Valnar asks Ascar to resurrect Aisha. And Ascar tries to explain to Valnar why that's a horrible idea, but Valnar doesn't want to listen, so Ascar does it anyways. Which, like Ascar said, obviously fails because Valnar is a vampire now. The vampire blood makes her go insane and she poofs into the night. Now we have 3 objectives. 1, find Abraxas, 2, find Aisha, and 3, find Abraxas' boss. This is the point where Ascar teaches us to turn into a bat. And this is a world opener. After this, we're able to access every single place on this map. And this map is gigantic. There are tons of side quests here, but most interesting places outside of the towns seem to have enemies that are too strong to fight, indicated by this red skull over here. So let's get to grinding and upgrading. There are these little hidden illegal shops that sell blood too. It's kind of funny actually. Humans unknowingly supply the vampires with blood vials, while vampires supply them with silver from their mines. So both parties are actually selling stuff to the other party that helps them kill each other. And later in the game, this will probably be your main income. The dialogue is really charming and really funny in some places. You don't plan on climbing up there, do you? I kinda was. You might find a clue up there. No, you didn't understand. I mean, you want to climb up there. Ascar is slowly becoming my favorite character. You can see the game doesn't take itself too seriously at times, but it does when it has to. So it actually really works. So this is the meat of the game. We go around exploring, finding hidden areas like ruins, caves, and forests, all the while leveling up in order to be able to fight our way through new Zubat caves. Only that Zubats are really fucking strong sometimes and kill you with a couple of hits. I guess that's the incentive for grinding more. Did I mention I'm not really a big fan of random encounters? Sir, can you move out of the way? Every single person has some dialogue, and it's worth speaking to all of them to get side quests. And yeah, side quests are worth doing, as they give a nice stack of XP and sometimes unique items. It's also possible to fail some side quests, like this dude here. He says he wants a package hidden in a snowman. But he tells us not to open the package. So naturally I open it. It's a flower that instantly dies after opening it. There are even some puzzles thrown in just for the hell of it. There are lots and lots of cool things in this world, and I'm sure I haven't even found everything. So yeah, when we were talking I found this ghost town here, but... yeah, this isn't happening. These skeletons easily wipe me out. I've also heard from a lieutenant in a brothel that there's a hidden cave somewhere, so I have some idea where to go. Well, I'm not sure which area is the best place to go first, so I started to prepare for the ghost town. So, after some time exploring, dying, and dying, fuck! Leveling up the characters and equipment, doing side quests, and then dying again, I was finally strong enough to make it through the ghost town and the graveyard. And what waited for me there was another long, painful Zubat cave. Every time you die, you go back to the last save point. Now, that's not inherently a bad thing, but you can only save with these save stones. These are fairly rare, and who knows what other stuff is still to come where I might need them. Like, sometimes you'll play for 30 minutes, and then you have to ask yourself, is it worth risking to play just a tiny bit more before saving the game, in order to save up on some save stones? As I said, these aren't super easy to come by. You can also use souls to save the game, but you need those to increase your stats, so that's mostly out of the picture. And then you die and have to do it all over again. Don't underestimate the difficulty of this game. If you are in a new area and you don't know the general strength of the enemies here, you will probably die at first. The save system is a little bit like the original Resident Evil, where you need these ink ribbons to save the game. Or in White Day, where you need these Sharpies to save the game. I'm not really a fan of that. I like to save my game as often as I want to. Like, what if I need to get off the game because it's 3 in the morning and I need to get up to work in 2 hours? If I had to name the worst part of this game, this would probably be it. It's really, really hard in places, and the random encounters and RNG in battle makes the difficulty very inconsistent. I wouldn't even mind this if the fighting was fun, but I mean, it's turn-based combat. It does what it does and it works when it needs to, but it isn't really fun enough to justify these Zubat Fuck! And you might think, well, just flee the battle. And that's fair, except for the fact that you don't gain XP that way. Also, fleeing doesn't always work, but takes a turn. So you might fail to flee and then get wrecked. So I tried fleeing whenever I knew the damage wouldn't be worth the XP and I knew I could reliably flee, which seemed to work a little better. Through the magic of fast forwarding, you get to skip this part. And yes, it's as painful as it looks. If the enemies in the Zubat cave at least give you blood, you can at least use the home teleport spell to regenerate. Which is a lot faster because you can teleport back to where you came from too. But that doesn't work here because the enemies don't give blood. Alternatively, we could just use healing items too. So at the bottom we grab this key, which prompts a timer. So now you have to do the whole Zubat cave backwards with added time pressure. Well, at least the reward is to see this town blow up. Ooh. Nice. So yeah, this is basically the game cycle. It's not an easy game. Next we're looking for Aisha by looking for the cave the dude in the brothel talked about. And there's another gigantic Zubat cave here. But this seems to work out so far because I've trained up enough. You have got to be kidding me. Well, I guess let's try to power through here anyway. We fight a boss and... Ah, this is where the key from the ghost town fits. Damn, I'm glad I didn't make my way here before I got the key. That would have been very annoying. Stuff like this happens in games a lot, especially open world games. And my brain just cannot comprehend that for whatever reason. Like, for example, in Breath of the Wild, I'm told to go somewhere to get treasure, and I'm always on board for treasure. So I obviously try to go there, but I can't because I don't have proper clothing. What happens is that my brain can't accept the fact that I cannot get there yet. I just have to complete the side quests right now. Who knows if the side quest will still be there in 10 hours from now? A giraffe might have eaten it or something. A lot of the time, I just turn off the game when this happens and come back to it when I'm mentally prepared for this kind of stuff. Dangling treasure in front of my face like a donut and then telling me I can't have it only works when I'm in the right mindset. I like donuts, but I'm not Homer Simpson. I won't run after them no matter the cost. Oh look, we made it. Aisha's still insane, so we kill her. So we kill her. Abraxas calls and mistakenly gives us a secret door code. And the old dude from the beginning says their relationship is a secret for now. Well, now that he knows that we're coming, I'm sure he'll patiently wait. Yep, he's gone. Holy shit, Abraxas annihilated these vampires. We get another hint to visit the Children of the Apocalypse from this dying vampire. What? They are here? I actually found this place earlier, but I assumed KA was short for Koch Alexander, the creator of this game. This is actually really cool. I love these hidden hideouts. It's part of why I like the Dark Brotherhood so much in the Elder Scrolls series. Of course, they are also badass assassins. That might have played a bigger role. Man, these guys are not fucking around. Not only do they sacrifice humans so much that they have clogged up rooms full of bodies and skulls and bones littered through the entire facility, they also have prisons where they hold even more sacrifices. Jesus Christ. To make it short, they tell us that we are 3 of the last living 7 vampires. 3 of the last living 6 vampires. And he gives us a magic eye so we can find Abraxas. Let's do this. Holy shit, this is really hard. This might be the hardest part of the game. There are pitch black rooms, traps that do damage, a lot of strong monsters, tough mini-bosses, holes in the ground that drop you down a level, puzzles, all on top of it being a gigantic Zubat cave. How does Abraxas even navigate this place? This will take some time. I didn't mention this before, but I feel like this is a good time. These Zubat caves usually have a bunch of goodies hidden inside. These are arranged in a way that makes you go alternative, longer routes, or makes you go out of your way to pick these up. Usually I'd say that's a pretty cool game design. A nice risk versus reward system. But there are 2 glaring flaws with this. For one, you can't see enough of the map to make an educated choice. You just pick any direction and hope it leads to where you want to go. I think this might be the reason why this game is so hard in places. And it's also why I opted for a walkthrough of the maps in the later part of the game. Yeah, I don't feel bad about this. At all. And secondly, it just makes everything longer. It means going back home or regenerating for longer before you can move on, or waste money on healing items I wouldn't need otherwise. And why pay money for healing items when I can have the same thing for free by just waiting? I still think this is a cool idea, but I feel like it could have been executed a bit better. Like, for example, maybe a mini-boss at the chests instead of the Zubat caves would have probably gone a long way to make this game a lot less annoying. There are also some secret pathways that you can only make visible with a certain spell. Anyway, it's time to get ready. Alright, I think we're ready. Let's do this. Finally, there he is, Abraxas. It turns out Abraxas is Askar's creator, so he can't attack him. And this means that we have to fight him without Askar. Abraxas explains that Aisha was his bride and fled where she met Valnar. And after the failed resurrection by Askar, she came back to him begging for mercy. This makes Valnar kinda angry. And now it's time to finally end him. I'm not gonna lie, this boss fight took me a long time to beat. Abraxas does heavy damage to your entire group at once, makes you bleed, and all kinds of other status effects. So while you're busy trying to fix your status effects, he's already hitting you with something else again. And that way, he slowly chips down on your health until you die. And if he doesn't do that, he has this nasty attack that makes you confused. And confusion is kind of like how it is in Pokemon. So if all of your party is confused, they just keep fighting among themselves, leaving you as a mere passenger. You can literally only watch them kill each other. Also, without Askar, I don't get to use my main healer in this fight. But after some extra grinding, and many failed attempts, this is so damn satisfying. Ah, see, look, this explains it. Abraxas doesn't need to navigate the tower at all. He just teleports in and out. That's a pragmatic solution. From here on out, I want to warn you about spoilers again. The story is very close to the end, so if you want to experience that plot twist for yourself, skip through the time on the screen to the conclusion. Abraxas leaves behind a crest and a key. The crest lets us safely enter the king's castle. where Ascar fucking kills the king and all of his underlings. What the shit? Long live anarchy! Man, look at that cinematic crown flight after Ascar fucking decapitates the king. You know, I changed my mind. Down with anarchy! The king's dead, long live the king. Stop that stuff, Ascar. Well, fine. It's always when I'm having the most of fun that I gotta stop. But I am going to take the crown. It just fits me so well. I fucking love Ascar, dude. We find the treasure room of the king completely empty. Turns out the king was paying off Abraxas' boss to kill the vampires. We even get a hint of where this particular vampire they only name Mr. X here might be. At a grave in Asran. I love these details. Little story bits we are told through the narrative. Like how people complain that the king raised his taxes. He must have done that in order to be able to pay off Mr. X. Or how after killing Abraxas, the statues that show how many vampires alive changed colors again, displaying that only 4 vampires are left alive. One long Zubat cave later, we meet Mr. X. And I'm sure some of you saw this coming. Mr. X is Vincent Waynard, the vampire hunter from 400 years ago. Turns out he's kind of a power-hungry dick. He turned himself into the first vampire to create more vampires, and then kill them to paint himself as the hero and live forever as the head of the church. Before she was put into the insane asylum, Elaine was his assistant, but rejected his plan to become his bride, which is why he cursed her to what she was when we found her. Oh, and he also saved Abraxas at some point to make him his underling, I guess. We obviously kill him because that's what we are good at, and he is surprisingly a lot easier to kill than Abraxas. And right after that we have to fight his gargoyle guards. Ascar picks up Waynard's spellbook and goes power hungry. I mean, he always was, but this book takes it to another level. He says he wants to rule the world with an army of skeletons and zombies. Elaine rejects Ascar's plan, who then teleports them both to this weird space-looking area. This is the final challenge of the game, so let's get through this last Zubat cave and end it all. From what I understand, this room and the ending changes according to the choices you made via dialogue and your humanity rating. I have no idea what I exactly did to get this particular ending, but I think it's the good ending. At least that's what the walkthrough says. See, it's the same backdrop. And you can't teleport back to the castle anymore. Which means... hello, good old friend region abuse. I mean, I could use healing items, but I kinda don't want to waste them for the final fight. Plus, I don't really have that many left. You know, I can't say I didn't expect the Ascar heel turn. He's always been kind of unstable, to put it nicely. I guess you could say massacring an entire town, or the king in his own castle, and all his underlings, and brutally mutilating their bodies might qualify as red flags. It's a shame because he was a real anti-hero up until now. Oh look, we can move on. And yeah, I'm still using the walkthrough, by the way. And I'm not ashamed. I mean, have you seen this labyrinth? Yeah, there is no way in hell I could make this without knowing where to go. Yeah, I gave up on fighting these guys. This is going to take a while. I'll wake you up when we're there. And here we are. And surprisingly enough, we can actually attack Asgard despite the fact that he is Valnar's creator. I think the lore explanation is that those rules don't apply on this ethereal plane, which Asgard created in order to give Valnar a fair chance. Why he would do that, I don't really understand. It's not really in character for him. So I guess this was just done to cover up a plot hole. After this, Elaine and Valnar decide to repopulate the world with vampires. Oh, and they are a couple now, I guess. And... yeah, remember when I said earlier that maybe the humans should talk to the vampires and come to an agreement? Yeah, I think I might have been wrong about that. This doesn't look like an agreement is possible. This is outright war. At the end of the story, both humans and vampires die. Because the vampires killed all the humans, and they can't live without human blood. I think there are 3 other endings too. And that's the game. This was a huge game. I think I kinda underestimated this project. So honestly, yeah, I think this game still holds up. The characters are so lovable and memorable in a weird way, but despite that, they don't have as much depth as I would have liked. Asgard is 400 years old and we barely get to know anything about him. We only get to see a fraction of this character. What has he done during these 400 years? We will never get to know. At least not in this game. All of the characters seem to be a little bit one-dimensional, even though I really like them. And there's more like this, but I think you get the point. The atmosphere is astonishing in some places, and the attention to detail is breathtaking. It's really a comprehensive world. Let's not forget about the combat though. I mean, it's fine, it's a modified version of the standard RPG Maker stuff, but the combat leads into the worst thing about this game. The grind. The grind and the labyrinth-like Zubat caves. The grind to level up, the grind for souls, the grind through dungeons. It's a difficult game, and even with careful preparation, takes a lot of time and can be frustrating. Being able to teleport home and heal or stock up on items, and then teleport back to where you are is very convenient. But dungeons are still a slow crawl at times. They are difficult enough by themselves, but the fact that they are a labyrinth makes this really a chore sometimes. Yeah, you could just use healing items between fights, but those don't come cheap, especially the better ones. It reminds me a little bit of RuneScape, an MMO that is so heavy on grinding you can spend years of your life on it and still will not be able to achieve everything. But that's a can of worms I might open another day. But despite the flaws this game has, I still couldn't stop playing. I had so much fun reading all the stuff the characters had to say, even the NPCs. And preparing for a dungeon, I know I complained a lot about it, but it was all still a lot of fun. There's so much to do in this game. It's honestly very impressive, and it has so much personality. There are probably thousands of text boxes that are filled to the brim with personality. And you slowly get to like these characters over the course of this journey. Even though they aren't really in depth, and they aren't voiced or anything, they somehow still feel so alive and real. I think it's just that the dialogue is so well written. So, how are the sequels? Honestly, I remember the second game being much better than the first, but it has been a while. If you're interested in hearing about the sequels, leave a comment and let me know, and I might make a follow-up episode some other day. So yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and playing Vampire's Dawn together. An obscure German vampire RPG that's definitely worth checking out.